Hi, this is Geek Dhaba, and today we are here to give you our review of Thor: Love and Thunder. And if you have not guessed it by our expressions, well, you could say there was a lot of love and just no thunder, or no love, no thunder. I don't know
I
how to
mean,
put
there
it.
was thunder, but not a whole
No,
lot of love.
not a whole lot of love,
Not a
definitely.
whole lot of love.
But that said, we are going to try to be as positive as possible, even though the movie pretty much forces us not to be very nice. But yeah, we're gonna start off with the
We'll
positive
try.
things. We'll
Yeah,
try
we'll
our
try
best.
to be
We'll try
nice.
our best. But yeah, we'll start off with the positive things. The first,
Hmm.
Kanza, why don't you go? What did you like about the movie?
I mean, I love the fact that we got to see more types of gods in this movie. I loved how Gore was shown in the movie. I loved his entire arc. I loved his display of the character. I mean, Christian Bale once again killed it as a character because, of course, that man gives it 100% or not at all whatsoever.
True.
And I mean, I'm glad we got to see more of the inhuman side of the gods, like we see in the books and in the mythologies we read up about how Zeus was an asshole the entire time, about the other gods, about how people were reacting, how the gods were reacting to the humans being killed and whatever was happening on the other planets. I love that part of the entire series. I loved how Thor grew more as a person in the movies as well. It was a little rushed. I feel like they could have gone more into details, but we'll save that for when we get to the nitpicky details of the movie.
But yeah, no, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Like just reiterating
But
you,
yeah,
Kristen Bale was the heart and soul of this movie,
amazing. I
hands
swear
down.
to God.
I
I mean, but
mean,
I'm also glad we got to see a lot more of how the people of Asgard were coping with everything that they went through,
true.
especially after Thanos, and how even after the snap and everything that happened, they still thrived as a city in on Earth. Like they made their own place, they built a name for themselves,
Which kind of
and
gives you a bit of a logistical problem if you think about it. Like, okay, this is like, Asgard has a lot of magic and everything. So how is it that not every country in the world has invaded them? But yeah, then again, this is Marvel, so we don't question it further.
I mean, it's kind of like Wakanda. I mean, like
Yeah.
maybe they're keeping it down low. Maybe they're just keeping. They made it into like a tourist city, right? I mean, we got the Thanos Gauntlet ice cream shop. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we have a couple of souvenir shops as well.
And the
Thor is well
Old Spice
known.
commercial. Old Spice commercial. I was so
Exactly.
sure when I saw Old Spice. I was like, "Hang on, is Terry Crews coming in? Is Terry Crews?" If it was, I would though I would have been sold. I would have been
I
sold,
know.
but
I would
sadly,
have
no Terry
wanted a
Crews.
couple for myself as well. I mean, like then I would have immediately wanted like 10 of those.
But yeah, coming back to Kristen Bale's score,
Yeah.
the amount of time there was, and of course we're going to
Hmm.
discuss it later. The amount of time that he solidified himself as a threat. And I
For
am
sure.
very, very sure that there were people who were creeped out by the level of, you know, uh, crazy that he was depicting because of the
I
sword.
agree. I mean, like when I went to watch the movie, the person sitting right next to me, I could keep hearing him going, "Oh my god, what the f is like? What the f? What the f?" And a bunch of curse words in a language which I'm pretty sure was Punjabi, but I would have to assume.
Yeah, swear words only are effective in your own local language, otherwise not
Yeah.
exactly. But another good thing I liked about is the return of Jane Foster. um we were
Yes.
looking forward to it for a very long time, as to know
For sure.
exactly what caused them to grow apart, because that was never
Hmm.
explained, and thankfully
Yeah.
that gets explained
We
in
got
this.
that. Yeah.
Which, if it was it a very good explanation, again, that's your opinion, that's everybody's opinion, and particularly it's kind of like, does that work? Maybe it does, or
Yeah,
maybe
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
like when it
It was
comes
an
to like
explanation.
yeah, I mean, like when it comes to long relationships, there is always a chance that what people start putting up their walls. Okay, you know what, this is too good to be true.
True, true.
And especially with the fields that they were in, with especially with the way Thor was. I mean, we saw that he still had a little bit of his "I'm an actual Norse god" ego to himself.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that in a lot of places he was like, "Yo, why should I be doing all these humane tasks?" And
True.
Jane was not having it.
True.
And I
And
mean, with the work and everything, it did cause distance between them, especially with Thor losing so much as things were happening. I mean, he still hadn't dealt with all the issues he had before he met Jane and they started living together and everything.
yeah, true. And one last good thing about the movie was the visuals, I would say. The space visuals and
Oh,
like, omnipotent city, that's what they called it, right? Omnipotent city.
yes.
That was amazing design.
It
That was
was
a really, really
gorgeous.
gorgeous. And I'm actually going to transition from there into the nitpicky bits
Hmm.
because that's the main problem
Before
I
we get
had.
into that, the another goat we need to talk about in the movie were the two actual giant goats we got. Because those were my favorite parts of
Oh
the movie.
man. And you
The
know what?
yelling at every entrance, them with the Stormbreaker in front of a ship. I mean, a
And
highlight.
Stormbreaker actually having feelings. It was like I just finished
The
reading
jealous
Magnus Chase.
girlfriend.
That's the thing. I just finished reading Magnus Chase,
Mm,
and it was just
mm.
so accurate to that because the two goats in there are also like Otis and Marvin, and
Yeah,
over here they are like Tooth Grinder and Tooth Crusher. That's the name of the goats.
yeah.
And Taika Waititi confirmed that these goats were inspired from the Taylor Swift goat meme.
Oh god.
That's the whole. Taika
Yeah,
Waititi confirmed it. So
yeah. I remember seeing that.
you're like, okay. And every time they screamed, the entire cinema was just laughing. Yeah, like, there's no, you
I mean,
cannot
I
go
watched
wrong
the
with the
movie
scream.
by myself. So I went to the movie by myself, right?
Yeah,
And every time the ghosts were screaming, there was like a pitch awkward silence, and I was the only one just cackling out loud every time they started. And I
same.
was just slapping my knee. I was wheezing. I'm pretty sure I dropped popcorn on the person sitting next to me as well, especially when they were first introduced onto the screen.
Yeah,
But
but
like,
it was a good nod to the mythology
mm,
part of it. Like, at least we're getting the gods, even though we didn't get Jormungandr, we got Fenrir, but yeah, well, Loki didn't
hey,
recognize
I
him.
mean, Thor will return, right? So you never know what they're gonna bring up in the next movie,
Who knows?
especially
True.
with the useless end credit we got of Zeus.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
And
about
with
that
this, we get into the
nitpicky bits.
nitpicky part.
So the first nitpick that I have is that the movie is
Hmm,
obviously very glaringly obviously rushed. Like you feel like
very.
okay, they're going from A to C, then C to F. Like it's not like they're not touching on the ground, but it's kind of like if I put it like the Madagascar penguins put it, they're just
Yeah,
kissing the ground and not exploring the ground at all.
exactly. I mean, we now know that 3 4 hour movies work. People will sit and watch them.
Yeah,
Why not take that time up if people are willing to put that time in? I mean, we did with with Infinity, we put it up with Endgame. We would have put it up with this movie if we got all the content we were supposed to get. I
exactly.
mean, they rushed way too much of the movie. They rushed Jane getting sick, the way the Mjolnir was taking over her, like how she was getting weak. The entire movie was just fast paced. They were like, okay, we have this much to cover and we have this little time.
Yeah. And introducing omnipotentity, the thing was, did it do much for the narrative? Because if you take out the omnipotentity and Zeus and all of these
Yeah.
guys, all it does is just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense for the post credit scene. But aside from that,
Yeah.
it was just fan service. Like, okay, fine. If you want to go for fan service, I'm all up for it. But at least give us something more as
I
Zeus.
feel like the only reason they did that was to show Thor being completely naked.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, Samin would agree to this, so would Mano and Mishi and Saneha, that we got a naked Thor because of this. The fact that
Yeah.
it was censored in our country is something that they will be bothered with.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Even if it wasn't censored, it was hardly like 2 to 3 seconds. That was it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's like parading naked or something. It's not. And
But I
what's
mean, we got to see him actually face one of his favorite gods, right? I mean, we got to see him face Zeus, and then we got to see him use the the bolt
the
on
thunderbolt,
Zeus.
the
Yeah.
thunderbolt on Zeus, and it was just like,
But I
okay, you have
loved
that
the
weapon.
only highlight here, the only highlight in that entire scene was Jane with Valkyrie. I mean, I loved their duo.
Yeah,
They were both the equal amount of chaotic, and I was there for it.
Which kind of goes to explain, like, we would have liked more of Jane Foster. This movie felt like it
Yeah.
was just there to write out Jane Foster. Like, okay, fine,
Yep.
Thor lost his family, he lost his brother thrice, of course, that's a different topic.
So
um
far,
he lost his planet, he lost his home, and now
he
he
lost an
loses
eye.
his he lost an eye, sorry, forgot that one. And now he has lost his
The
only
love of
love.
his life.
It's kind of
Yep.
like, bro, what do you have against Thor and not giving him a good story? Like, okay,
I know, right?
it just doesn't make sense, but okay, fine,
I mean,
whatever we got.
honestly, I feel like, yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like if Jane had made better choices, if like she knew that if she had got in touch with Thor before, Thor would have gone to every single planet on the universe looking for a cure. And I'm sure somewhere out there would have been a magician in a cave somewhere that could have
Yeah.
helped her out.
And I
But
mean,
she
if the Greeks
decided
are
not to
there,
do that.
if the Greeks are there, they were known
Yeah,
for medicine. There's a whole
exactly.
freaking god of medicine in there. You could have just taken that.
Literally.
But it is what it is.
It is
So
what it is.
one final nitpick thing before we move to the rating, and that would
Mm.
be Gore itself. Gore didn't get enough time. Gore should have had more screen time.
He did not.
That's the only final nitpick that I have. It would have been so good, so freaking good, if we had this whole arc where we see him
Yeah.
going from a very compassionate man, which we see in the start, to a very
Yeah.
freakishly fully evil guy. But
Yeah.
well, narrative choices, I guess.
Again, I feel like the entire movies, the nitpicks that we're gonna be picking out, and I'm sure we have so many more because I know I do. That if we
Yeah,
get into the finer details, the main point comes to the fact that it was not enough time.
there
I
was
mean,
not enough
even
time. True.
30 more minutes would have given us more of how Jane s- trained to become the mighty Thor she was. I mean, we just got to hear her once say that she is a mighty Thor and eat her hammer. I mean, who ends the scene like that?
If well, like you said, if we were to talk about all the things that we found painful, we would be here all
Yeah,
day. But yeah,
yeah.
we'll
But
move to
Gore,
the
yeah, I feel we should have gotten more. But I'm glad in the end, instead of going for world destruction, the thing he did was bring his daughter back, which led to us getting Love and Thunder. And I
uh,
mean, as much as I'm glad that Thor has something to look forward to in his life for a very brief moment, which is probably going to be the case because Marvel and Kevin Feige, of course.
true,
But
very true.
I mean, at least they gave him something at the end, right? And I'm sure that she is going to learn a lot and she's going to start being more. But the only issue I do have is that Jane was being pulled together, was keeping herself together because of the hammer, right? The
Hmm.
hammer was continuing to be fixed. If the hammer was fixed long enough, it should have given her more time.
But sadly, they had to write her out. So yeah,
Yeah.
they were like,
Why?
yeah,
You never
guys,
know.
cry about it. Go, like, Jane Foster's gone. Cry about it. What will you do? Stop watching our
Yeah.
movies? Oh, here you go. There's another movie coming in, and then we'll be crazy again.
Yeah.
So, what would you
Yeah,
rate
I
it?
mean, we have more shows and everything coming out as well, so you never
Hmm.
know. I mean, we still have Miss Marvel tomorrow, right? The
Yeah,
ending of the season.
the ending of the season. Yeah,
Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for
that
that
review.
review tomorrow.
But yeah,
But
what would you rate
yeah,
this movie as?
I mean, at best, considering what we did get and what we didn't, I would give it like 7 if I'm being very nice, because that's what I am.
And if you were not being nice, then
I would, I would give it a 5 at best, to be
oh
honest.
shit. You know what? Since you're being nice, I
And that's
would.
because I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But since I'm not being nice, I would say, since I would judge this very harshly. Even though like I personally gave it a 6.5, but I think
Hmm.
a 5.5 is at max I can give this,
Yeah,
because sorry, but Marvel needs to stop relying on fan service and start making good stories back. Like with Moon Knight. With Moon Knight,
exactly.
you didn't have any fan service. There was no MCU mentioned, but
Yeah,
had
I
a good
mean, like
coherent
fan
story.
service here and yeah, exactly. Fan service here and there, one or two moments where they mention something related to previous movies or TV shows. That's great. We will be more than happy with that.
Hmm.
But
But
this was them going overboard,
true, true.
especially this and then Multiverse of Madness. I mean, that was a whole another thing as well. But this was way too much and not the kind of fan service we would have wanted, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so agree with that. But yeah, with that, we'll end our review and let us know in the comment section below if you liked the movie or
Yeah,
you hated the movie as much as we did. So yeah,
or
like,
more.
oh yeah, more. But yeah, like, subscribe, and keep each other safe. We'll see
Yeah.
you in another review. Take care. Bye.